This is Happy Monkey.
This is Happy Monkey.
Happy Monkey. Happy Monkey.
This is Happy Monkey.
Hello, no one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
What's up? What's up? This is Succulently Delicious. Out here smoking that Gorilla Glue. Just wanted to say hi, give y'all a shout out. Hope y'all have a beautiful, blessed day. Enjoy this weather, guys.
What's going on, everybody? This week, the podcast has a sponsor, ArdentCannabis.com. They're known for the Ardent Nova, which is a decarber, but now they have a new Ardent where they decarb and infuse in the same device. So if you use our code MONKEY, MUNKEY, when you're checking out, you get $30 off your purchase. So please go on and check them out. They got a bunch of other devices. Hey, you might get lucky and find something that'll help you cook in your kitchen.
Hey everybody, yes, on the Happy Monkey podcast. Today we got a real boss lady. We've been having a couple boss ladies lately, right, Vlad?
Yes. We've been having a lot of female superheroes coming along.
Absolutely. This person definitely is a superhero because, like we were talking a little bit off air, she likes to touch on all people who look like her and look like me and look like Vlad when she's in the room. She makes sure we getting opportunities one way or another. And she is definitely an entrepreneur. We can't, Vlad, you want to give them more details?
Of course. This young lady has done a lot for the industry. Definitely put our people in the map and all marginalized people from females to minorities. Yeah. She is the president of Women Grow. She's also got an extensive background in PR for about 25 years. Our sister from another mother, Gia Moron. In the building, on the boulevard.
Please reintroduce yourself. Let everybody know where they can find you social media wise and shit.
Okay, well, before we start, you got to say my name right.
I tell you what I say wrong.
How are we going to be Latinos in the room and you don't even roll the R?
Gia Moron.
It's Moron.
Moron.
Okay, I was trying to be.
You know the accent. You just asked me off the air if I spoke Spanish.
So you was expecting the whole.
I can, right? I'm like, then you're going to give me some, but you didn't.
Gia Moron.
All right, let's do it.
There you go.
Thank you. Yes, so my name is Gia Moron, Omron, right? And I am the president of Women Grow, but I'm also the founder and CEO of GVM Communications, which is a PR and brand strategy and business development firm, which I happen to have started April 20th, 2012, without even knowing
420.
that I was even going into the industry.
Yeah, the stars were going that way for you no matter what it seemed like.
And and so I got into the industry 2015, and I expanded my business, which still operates outside of the industry, but we take on clients in the industry in 2015. And then I got into Women Grow around the same time and just started working my way through the company. And so now, I'm an equity owner and president, and I got amazing clients on the GVM side, and I get to work with amazing people like you guys.
And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, born and raised New Yorker.
New Yorkina.
Just FYI.
Born and raised Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Yes,
I rep.
Brooklyn
Oh
in
my
the house.
God! Yes,
Absolutely.
how did I not start off that way?
Absolutely, Brooklyn born.
Yes, Brooklyn in the house.
I don't know. I just want to pretty much just go into the topic that we was talking about earlier, and I mentioned it in the introduction because again it stood out to me. We first bumped. We didn't know each other, but we first bumped into each other was 2018 in the Vegas conference, and we were in a room in ArcView. It was an ArcView, their own little penthouse party going on, right? And we were maybe out of 12 people that were black in the room. We were the only two people who just like not the only two people, but you just happen to say hello to me, and you know, you embrace me like, nah, brother, you black, like, what's up? You know what I mean? I was like, all right. So that, you know, that kind of like, it gave me some sort of, I would say, a boost of a little bit of confidence, I would say, because, you know, I'm in a room where I'm coming from the legacy market, and this is my first time away from home in this different type of conference. This is not regular for me. This is not like a Canna Gather or a women's growth thing. This is like a whole different monster, right? So I'm in the room trying to, you know, observe like I usually do. And Vlad is already scouring the room. So I'm usually observing. All right, Vlad is over here.
This is MJ Biz 2018, I believe.
This is MJ Biz. This is MJ Biz. So, you know, just so you know, like, those little things work. You know, because that stood out to me. I'm like, yo, Gia, boom. And then I think Ronnie introduced me to you afterwards or whatever. Boom, boom, we was just smoking. Wanda was there.
Ronnie
Everybody
Soto,
was there.
our other brother,
Ronnie,
right?
that's our brother. Yeah, Ronnie, man. So I'm just, you know, I just want to thank you for just saying that simple hello to me. Just, you know, again,
You're welcome.
it reached out. Yeah, it's love. It's love. So
And
now
it's important.
Yeah, that was important. So now let's get into a little bit into the cannabis.
Okay.
You've been doing, I know you 25 years, 20 years PR and all that good stuff. But what made you go into cannabis? Like, what was like your first, not even fuck what you got into the industry. What made you go into cannabis in general? Like, what was your first interaction? Maybe your first smoking experience, or maybe your edible experience, because you don't smoke. You know, I know you don't like to smoke.
Okay, so really the first time I got introduced to it, you mean?
Yeah.
14 years old, right outside my guidance
Brooklyn.
counselors. No, not even in Brooklyn. At Hillcrest High School in Jamaica, Queens. I'm breaking it down. Right outside my guidance counselor's office, and one of my friends said, hey, do you want to hit this joint? And I was like, it was in between classes, and I was like, sure. And then after I did, I was like, wow, what was that weird feeling? And that was kind of it.
That was it. Was it a joint? What was it? It was a...
I was so
remember?
new. It was definitely a joint. It was
Okay, it was
definitely
a
a
white
joint.
paper.
But now, you also have to understand, this is like 80... I'm probably way older than you guys. This is like 80... I don't know.
No way.
84? Yeah, 84 for sure. And, yeah, so, you know...
In Queens?
In Queens. I went to high school in Queens. And yeah, that was kind of just my introduction to it, and I liked it, and I would do it periodically, and yeah, it was fine. Quite honestly, I would smoke off and on up until 23, until I was 23 years old.
College sound like the college crazy life.
No, you know, so it was after college life, but so I was back in New York. So this is like Gia After Hours talk, right? So,
That's what we want. This is the boulevard.
this is Gia After
Unfiltered.
Hours. What's funny is hanging out down, like coming here to your location. Can I say where it is?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're down here in the Lower East Side. Years ago, there used to be the World up the street. And so I used to be a club head. You know, so as club head kids, you would always, you know, smoke. You were out getting high. But it was at 23 that I wanted to try going out without getting high. And I said, would I be able to party
The same.
12, 14 hours like the way I did? Because I was a house head. And so, like, would I be able to do that?
Yeah.
And so I did. And I was like, oh, I don't need it to go out and have a good time.
Right.
And so, and trust me, I mean, to be honest, I mean, I smoked weed, but I also like did other stuff. Right. So, but could I do that without, you know, could I go out and have a good time?
Yourself, right.
And so I learned that I could. And so getting high on a regular basis to me wasn't a necessity like I thought it needed to be. Because, you know, when you're out with your friends, like, you're like, oh, we gonna like turn up and go right.
It's
but
social, right?
I didn't have to. I still was like
You
the
still
same
had the
person.
energy to win, and you still fun without it.
Yeah. And so that was good. And I don't know. Then I started entering into the corporate life. And you got to take a drug test.
Right.
And a chick needed to pay bills. So I was like, okay, I'm not getting high anymore.
Right.
And so, you know, that's kind of how things change.
So, we like, you know, that was a shock to me. I recently found out because I knew about all the stuff you had done in cannabis. So, break down to us how you got your 25-year start in public relations. And for people out there, you know, we always like to educate people. Can you break down exactly what public relations is and what they do for companies and people?
Sure. So I first, I did temp jobs early on, and then I landed at a company which still exists, and I don't want to say their name because sometimes I don't like giving all these companies free PR, which I'll explain.
There you go.
But so if you look up my bio, you'll see it. But I worked at a television distribution and production company, international one. And actually it was my first time beginning to travel abroad and to other places with them. And I was young, like in my 20s. And so I learned starting out in sales and then working closely with someone in another department, and they were doing publicity and promotions and PR. And I was like, well, what's that? And I started working with them, and I worked my way up. And I ended up being there like 6-7 years, doing shows like Baywatch. It's crazy. and some other like
Charles in Charge and all that kind of stuff.
No, I didn't do Charles in Charge, no, but people know that show, right? Like so I worked on shows like that doing PR, and then from there, believe it or not, I had gotten laid off, took a little time, and then I got a call to do an interview at an investment bank. And I totally thought, I'm doing this for the check. I'm only going to be there a year, and then I'm out because I'm going back to this entertainment thing. P.S. 15 years later, I was like, I'm staying. Well, one, the money was far better.
Right.
Two, I don't think I'm born and raised in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. I didn't really know too many investment
Before the hipsters, you were there?
We talked to a little like, listen, everyone's talking about Williamsburg is better and dope now is whack, is shit. Because my childhood was amazing. Like it was like, the difference between what Williamsburg is today versus what it is now, it was a neighborhood back in the day.
You knew the Bodeguero.
You everything. And, in Williamsburg at the time, they were Puerto Rican, they were black, there's Italian. We grew up with Hasidic Jews in the neighborhood. You had Polish, like you had just this whole amazing cultural experience. And not to put the gentrifiers down, but they're just coming from wherever they're coming from. Yeah. But they're not coming with their, cultural authentic selves. And so they just want like the copy paste, modernized building. Meanwhile, it's different. It's very different. So what you asked me, I got into corporate after that.
Well, what exactly, because you haven't told us, what exactly when you got into, the corporate world, what was your role when you say you got an investment banking job?
So when I got called for the investment banking role, it was in their media relations department. And so what media relations is, that's a department that works with the press, whether if it's for broadcast news.
It's like the corporate PR kind of thing.
Or for print, right? The newspapers. And so they had an opening there. And I, went for the interview and got it. And so what those departments do, they put out press releases, which announce what a company is going to do, or, any kind of news, right, that you want to put out there. And so that's what typically what a media relations group would do, right? And so we put out press releases. We can't have relationships with the media. We help to get articles, right? We help people get on podcasts like this.
Right. There you go. Go Gia if you want to get on here.
There you go.
And we get them probably speaking opportunities. So media relations, public relations, similar yet different. Media strictly works with the media. Public relations is more broader. It includes the media, but then it also includes very public-facing roles, just like speaking at conferences or giving speeches somewhere.
Right. like the Super Bowl or something. You're gonna hire Vlad
I
to sing
love
at the Super
your
Bowl.
thinking. That's great. That's real big. When the NFL, like approves, finally lets players, consume
there you
that
go.
legally in terms of allowing, based on their regulations.
Well, at least they're not penalizing them anymore, I believe.
Yeah,
They're not.
But
But they're just still not completely for it.
right. Of course not. They're walking on thin,
Right.
here and there, one foot in, one foot out.
So me and Ramon always talk about how in our household, we come from first generation immigrants from the Caribbean, and it's a big stigma with cannabis, way more deeper than in the U.S. So I want to ask you, how was that looked at in your household?
I didn't mention my father was a cop, did I?
You forgot that part.
So my father was a New York City police detective for 30 years.
Oh,
he
he
passed
was-
away
oh,
in
man.
2008, but I come from a
condolences.
family of law enforcement officers. And many of them who joined the force back in the early 70s. So a lot of like the early, guys that got in, well, I would say late 60s, early 70s.
Okay.
And so back then in New York, you wouldn't find a lot of officers of color, like any black or Latino. You wouldn't see that.
Right.
So
Mostly Irish.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to have that.
Yeah, to have that lineage of
Yes. So coming from a family that my father's a cop, my uncle's a cop, my other uncle's a correction officer. Like everybody's in law enforcement, so you wouldn't think this is something I would do. But at the same time, growing up, I knew that they also thought that locking up people for a joint was stupid.
Their
Like,
personal views.
Their personal views, but I think also in their line of work. While we know officers oftentimes have a commitment to make by the end of the month based on the number of
we call it
a quota in our neighborhoods.
right.
Yeah, they got a quota.
That's not something that they typically do. And I say that to say because we had those conversations.
Right. Okay.
So and my uncle smoked. Like, you know what I mean? So they saw it as a contradiction because even as officers, they smoked weed.
Right. This was like the most minor things of what's happening in the 70s right now.
Exactly. Like that's
In New
not.
York. That was like the super minor.
So yes. So to that point, my family, while I'm sure me getting into this industry, they were apprehensive, but I think they trusted my opinion, my perspective on things. Like if I thought this was something I should go into, then
Yeah,
let's
she know what
watch
she's
and
talking
see.
about. That's the PR girl. That's the banker girl.
Well, I went from a financial services company into this, so they're like, either she done lost her damn mind, or this is going to be something.
Right. Well, it's something. You're making it something.
And thank you for breaking down the whole media relations and PR definitions, because we even us ourselves, we hear these terms thrown around loosely, but everybody doesn't know the exact definition and stuff
But
like
there's
that.
different kinds of PR, but we're not going to talk about that today. But there's different kinds. So when you hear people say they do PR, that doesn't necessarily mean they do PR for the work that you do. Mm-hmm. There's different kind of expertise in doing PR.
See, we gave you a crash course on
Crash
public
course.
relations and
Oh,
media
are we being
relations.
filmed?
A little bit, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm like,
people
going
out
this
there.
way. I didn't know.
No. We here.
Got you.
We here.
Okay, I
That's
didn't
good.
realize that.
No, it's all good. When people want more of a crash course, then you would have to look up Gia. Then just Google her.
Oh, yeah.
And
GVM Communications, Inc.
There you go.
Look me up.
So, Gia, me and Ramon always talk about, I want to know your opinion because, we've got our own opinions because since we got in the industry, we've done our due diligence and sort of figured a few things out. So we want to know what your views and opinions on this word that gets thrown around so loosely in the cannabis industry, social equity. How do you feel about that? Because me and Ramon have our own views on what they've categorized it as. We'd like to know what you feel.
I think it has a different definition depending on who you speak with. And even within our own communities as well. I I have my own perspective on how I believe social equity should work, but I think we're all entitled to our own perspectives. It's just rolling out a plan that's going to benefit people. Because I could really can I curse?
Yeah,
you can say whatever you want. It's the boulevard.
Absolutely.
Unfiltered and censored here.
To know me, to know is
This
like
isn't 2020 Barbara Walters, Gia. This is
just asking. So I could really give a fuck what anyone's opinion of the definition is, as long as we're able. If your definition is a particular version of what you believe social equity is, and you have the team to execute what you believe that version is, then you should do it.
Right.
Because I think we've spent so much time debating on the definition of social equity that no fucking state has gotten it right yet. No. Why? Because everyone's got a different
That's what I was hinting to also. Like, what do you think about what has been implemented so far using that term?
Well, I have it.
Because like you said, views is one thing that we have personally, but one other thing is that, you know, people have used in law and implemented in different states, and that's what I was referring to.
Well, states, but okay, so even if you look at what social equity has been launched, whether in California or in Illinois, while I may not agree with all aspects of it, I also recognize that they are not basing it off of something that's been done before. And so oftentimes people get annoyed that I say that, but it's the truth. If you don't have a basis for this that you're launching, then how do you know if it's right or wrong, right?
You don't know to after
they're the first with the trial and error. Right. They don't have any
That's
base.
exactly it. The problem with our laws, though, is that once it goes into effect, there's no room to make those corrections along the way, which is what you see California is now trying to do, right? And whereas people look at the state of Illinois and they think that Illinois got it right, but you talk to residents in Illinois, they don't feel like it's right. So it's a trial and error, but a continued one. I think what we have to do is, one, keep working at it, right, to perfect it. Our own everyday laws aren't perfect. Shit, we're still trying to get that right? So, you know, if we're able to continue to perfect it and to put the pressure on that it needs to be improved time over time, especially with the regulations in place. You look at what Massachusetts did the other day. Like, when I say the other day, like a couple of days ago, they now have a new they were approved with the new delivery service. They have like new opportunities that are presented for people of color, right? And you think about where Massachusetts was and where it's going to. Those are improvements we need to see over time. I don't think we need to get fixated on, if the system is breaking down, yes, we got to go back and fix it. We cannot be fixated on what the problem is. We need to come up with the solutions.
Right. We already know the problem.
We already know the problems, which is why I said, if your definition of social equity is one way and you believe you can make the change and you know how it's going to affect people, then you should do it. It's no different than what you should do or I, which is why our state regulators believe social equity is one way, because why? We have a group of people that convince them it's supposed to be that way. But there are independent groups that also come. I think of like New Leaf out in Portland, Oregon, where oh God, Jesse's gonna kill me because I cannot remember his last name right now. But I adore Jesse. Jesse and his wife Jeanette. They have an amazing program for minority-owned businesses, right? And they give out equity grants, and so they're not dependent on any state to do it. And you know, look at what you guys are doing. Right. You're not social equity either. Right. So not every person of color is a candidate for social equity, and I want people to stop fucking acting like we need dependency at all levels.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because what me and Ramon have been trying to preach here, you know, we just always like to get everybody's views, because, you know, it's not only based on us, you know, we just like to get everybody's opinion, but it's that we trying to promote to all people of color and all marginalized people that you should not be waiting for anybody to come save you. No. You have to create your own leverage, and that is your best odds in succeeding, more than waiting for somebody to come and save you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should put down any of these programs.
No.
They're
Of course not.
necessary, but I also realize that we don't all need it.
No.
Which goes back to social equity, right? I feel like the temperament in the country is that when you hear social equity, they put every black and brown person in that category of social equity as if what? We all need public assistance? No, we don't.
No.
But some of us do, and we
Right.
do need that in place. But then you have people who are very independent, who are building their own tables like you guys have, and you're operating. But you're not what ones would
Yeah,
typically.
we're not crying. Yeah, we're not crying. We're not.
Right.
We're not saying social equity. We need
Right,
that.
exactly.
We're
But we're not
It's just-
against it
we're
either.
not, definitely not against it, because if it's gonna help,
It's necessary.
right? If it's gonna help the masses of our people get on, then hell, fucking yeah. You know what I mean?
We must. I mean, I think there's more than one way into the industry.
Absolutely.
And
that's
that's the problem that I have, is that while I know the work that we all as a community are doing, and it's important and necessary, because we know the entryways are difficult. And so you do need social equity, entry points for those that want to get in. But then you have people that don't need it, and that's fine too.
Exactly. So that's why, it's just important, like, for everybody to know all the options they have available, because part of our mission here is to educate and inform people, especially our people, as much as possible. Because like Ramon was telling you earlier outside, the information is not as available to us, you know what I mean, or anybody. So we try to give them as much perspective, because they just, like I said, just use the terms loosely, don't really give people a basis of how things are working or what the landscapes and the climates are. So it's always good to give them different perspectives of what these words mean, more than just them just thinking that it's just like one way in one place.
I suggest you guys come up with a Happy Monkey dictionary.
I like that.
And it breaks down the different terms in the industry. And you know what made me say that? So when I was on Wall Street, because I didn't know a lot of the deals that were happening, I didn't feel intimidated. What I felt was lost.
Right. You didn't know the
And
terminology.
so
you didn't know what
I
the
didn't
fuck is going on.
understand everything. Like, I understood one small part, but when I started becoming more curious about some of the more complicated deals, I needed more than what the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times was telling me. And so there was a dictionary that came up with, but it was a financial news dictionary, and it would break down what securitization was. Like, I didn't even know that was a fucking word.
Basically, in layman's terms,
In layman's terms. And so I got to, one, get the correct spelling of things. Two, I got to understand what the meanings were and how it broke down to the different deals that were happening, if they were mergers and acquisitions, or, a buy or a sell. And so that helped me, because then I knew better how to articulate. And that sounded like it now, but I understood better.
Right. You know what they talking about. Shit.
So that's what I'm saying.
Right.
You could come up with a Happy
We
Monkey.
gonna have to come up with the. We go credit Gia on it.
No, that's for you guys.
Yo, thank you, Gia. Come on, we gonna give you the shout out.
First of all, these are so cute. These are rolling trays.
These are rolling
cute.
trays. You leaving one.
I love it.
So now we want to get into your main role now in cannabis, as being president of this organization, Women Grow.
Yeah.
So can you explain to the people how Women Grow is helping marginalized people get more opportunities, educating people, whatever the organization embodies?
What does Women Grow do? Under Gia's reign.
Let's start that
How
way,
about
and
that?
then I can get over to that. So Women Grow, which I think you guys had Jane West on here not too long ago. So Jane West founded Women Grow, and it's the largest network for women in the cannabis industry. Its mission is to connect, educate, empower, and inspire the next generation of leaders. And so it was founded in Denver, Colorado, and it grew. It's like the organization to be a part of, which is what drew me to the company. I will tell you though, just like I said to you before, on air, is that when I went to my first Women Grow meeting, there were only 5 Black people in a room here in New York City. And so to me, that stood out, because how are you in like the melting pot of the world, and yet there's only, and it's cannabis.
Right.
And there's only 5 Black people in the room of like 80, 90 people. So that stood out to me. And one of the things that I said is I'm going to do my best to try to diversify the company. And I did that by, when I first started going to meetings, I kept inviting people that look like us. Just come. You don't even have to talk to me. Just come.
You had to add the sazon and the flavor to the meeting.
For real. So, so I would like just come. And what I did understand is, for my friends that were consumers, I was like, it's real played out that you only consume and that you don't have some kind of professional or business interests in the space. Like however you might want it to be, but at least explore it. So then I, started working with Women Grow, and now today, one of the things that I've been very intentional in doing over the years is finding people, not just that look like us, but that are reflections of our society. So, identifying Asian women in the industry, Latinas or whomever, but being very intentional about that and unapologetic. Because when you begin to see reflections of yourself on the other side, it's like that informal invitation. Just like the nod. You do in the room, you walk in the room, right?
It's more approachable.
Absolutely.
Well, it is, because, I think sometimes we hesitate to approach someone that may be of another race in asking questions. Not to say that sometimes there is a level of intimidation, but when you see someone that looks like you feel a little bit more comfortable to approach them. And I think that that's important, because otherwise we'll have an industry that will continue to be white dominated. If people, think about when Obama was president, right? Before him, no little kid ever thought it was possible to become president. So it's no different in this industry. You said it, from the legacy market, they look like us, but in the legal market, no one looks like us. But if we start showing up and filling roles in leadership, then you can see yourself being a CEO of a multi-million-dollar legal cannabis operation.
Absolutely. I agree. I'm glad you said it. We say it all the time. We talk about just like half the battle is just showing up. And that's what kind of helped me and him. But I'm glad you said it, because they got to hear from somebody else. They can't just.
But people have to stop being intimidated by being the only one in the room. Be the first one in the room, because you open the door, but you then need, your responsibility is to invite other people.
Agreed. Anybody got a lighter for me?
So right now, currently, how is Women Grow holding up due to this year of a little bit of a roller coaster that it's been? How are you guys still getting your message out there and still keeping your community?
Yeah, because Women Grow's been showing us love the whole time, to be honest. Everybody from your organization has been showing us love.
Tanya
supported us. Tanya, we love Tanya. Jane showed us love when we was like, yo, we want you on the podcast. She was like, yeah, I'll call you. I'm running for something in Utah right now, but come on, we'll talk. So
good.
Everybody's been showing us love and support. So this is kind of like our way showing you love back.
I appreciate it, and it's always music to my ears to hear that our market leaders. So Tanya was the market leader here in New York, and the reason why I say was is, to your question, the pandemic really impacted our business, because we are, at the end of the day, we're an events company, right? We're bringing people together live and in person. And so when we had to discontinue those events, in which we did early on, so the first thing we had scheduled in New York was the first Women in Cannabis Lobby Day. And we had like close to 200 women registered to go up to Albany to go and lobby for adult use legalization in our state. Then, pandemic hits. But if we can't go there, we certainly can't have events. If we can't have events in New York, we can't have events anywhere in the country.
Yeah.
So now that's all revenue that had to stop. And so Dr. Shonda Macias, who is the chairwoman and CEO of Women Grow, and I am the president, we made the decision to say, all right, well, we got to shut down our program and we have to reassess. What do we do? So we took it to social media.
Right, that's it. That's it.
That's the last
We
weapon
took it
left
to
right
social
there.
That's the weapon.
We took it to social media. And so we launched something called hashtag adult homeschooling.
Okay.
Right? We figured a lot of parents were home
Absolutely.
homeschooling their kids.
A lot.
That it was a great opportunity for them to get homeschooled themselves. So there was a program running out of Greenflower Media, which
We know Greenflower, yeah.
so I don't know when this airs, but we'll have a formal announcement soon that we have partnered with Greenflower
Okay.
for their online education. So our adult homeschooling is coming back, and because the pandemic is still here.
No, it's still here. And I think in the fall and winter, a lot of kids are not going back to school. They staying home.
And a lot of parents are not going back to work.
No.
And so it's a great way for them to, brush up their education and knowledge. So that's what we've had to do. We're using social media as the best way to connect with people. We found that during this time, even more so, people are more connected to their devices.
Yeah.
Right? We're doing
More than
Zoom
ever.
calls, we're
24/7.
doing IG lives and, all these other things. So why not stay connected to our community through social media? And so in September 2020, we'll be relaunching or officially launching our adult homeschooling with online education courses, virtual boot camps, book clubs. What else are we doing? A podcast.
Nice. You're getting busy. You're getting busy.
Is coming.
Remember where you heard it first, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
And we do allow men, as long as they're our allies. And
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
We're feminists.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, listen, I'm just
Absolutely.
saying, as long as they respect women, they do not degrade women, and they, support our initiatives. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are at your service. We come humbly.
I also wanted to ask you, Gia, me and Ramon always talk about how this year has been so impactful and so historic and so volatile that it's gonna be like, when we look back, right, it's gonna be like this is like BC AD, like it's gonna be like pre-COVID, 2020, post-COVID. It's gonna be a new normal.
Yeah.
And then when you add the facts of the things that have happened from Breonna Taylor to George Floyd. So my question to you is, in the cannabis industry and in regular society, how do you think these things are impacting society and the cannabis industry for the future and the new normal? Because now we see things like, all these companies that were all silent before, Amazon, Nike, now they're, because they got
Now
put
they're
under the
pro-black.
gun. Now they're pro-black. Now
Now
they're
we all
donating
pro-black.
and all these different things. So I think there's pros and cons here. I want to know your opinion.
It's just a really good question. The reason why I'm
Dominican
silent-
wants a crime card. I thought you knew that already.
You are. You really are. You really are. So I would say the part that's interesting to me is that when I was on Wall Street, diversity and inclusion was trending. It was a trending thing. And the reason why I say that is on Wall Street, there aren't a lot of people that look like us, right? And so what they would do is then say, we now have to start these diversity initiatives and recruiting and getting more, Black and brown people to come and work in their companies. Now, it's not like George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, those incidents didn't exist then. It's just we didn't have social media to amplify. Those incidents. So now you have mainstream and cannabis, right? That are now, the spotlight is on us, and now what are we going to do? mainstream knows that their consumer base, which women spend over $1 trillion, and you think about our Black communities and our Latino communities, we spend trillions of dollars on their products. And so they've got to speak to us. Otherwise, you lose a huge consumer base, right? A whole lot of spending. And when you think about cannabis, the trend is they always want to point to, as we already said, social equity. They always want to point to the wrongfully incarcerated, non-violent offenders and people that basically got locked up for weed that we're doing right now legally, right?
And are still there.
Right. Yeah. But you think about a Sandra Bland who got pulled over, right, for a
traffic violation. It wasn't
traffic
even,
violation
they're not even supposed to
that
pull
a
you out the
cop
car.
assumed that because she was smoking weed in her car, we as an industry absolutely have to be involved, because any of those people that we have seen, our brothers and sisters that we have seen on the ground and apprehended or murdered by law enforcement, could be any of our community, right? That is a patient of this medicine. You think about the brother that was in Alabama or somewhere down south,
recently, right now,
the veteran who served our country. He's a card carrying patient, but meanwhile he goes to jail for it. So
for like a $30 bag or something like that.
Dumb shit.
Crazy.
Just dumb.
It was crazy.
But it's important that these companies become vocal. What they cannot do and what we cannot allow them to do is to just show up right now while the cameras are on.
Yeah, to coast right now.
Because basically we've seen that happen over the summer. So if you think about
the black boxes are not enough on social media?
Not enough. You really are Walter Cronkite, huh? So you saw them early on in the summer where everyone wanted to post their Black Lives Matters, post and say this, but you look at their companies, they're not being proactive. They only react when there's a crisis. They're not fully behind organizations like M4MM or MCBA without being told that they have to be. It's no secret that these organizations and other organizations like them in the industry exist. So it's about goddamn time. Long and short of it.
So that's why Gia, like, also what I try to do is, because I feel like everybody needs education. So it's the same way we talk about our people and all the things we try to educate them. We have the fortune of having a lot of friends that are in high places as far as like in the cannabis industry and hold high roles. And what I try, since I know that everybody speaks the magic language of money. That's unanimous, right? No matter what side of the spectrum. So what I try to explain to them is, it's not just a humanitarian thing, the right thing and an empathetic thing to have a diverse board. I try to preach to them that it's really financially better for them, because if you're trying to be the most successful company you can be, you need to target all demographics. And if you don't have a gay person, a person of color, all the different demographics representing your board, it'll be very difficult for you to cater to all the demographics in society. So it's not only the right humanitarian thing to do, it is smarter for your business in the long term.
It's the capitalist thing to do, right? We're in New York. Everybody's here for the money.
But it's not just New York. It's across the country that should be practiced. Because when you think about who's here in New York, and I know very, very much the companies that you're referring to, and know a lot of those leaders as well, and we have those similar conversations, and they operate in multiple states. So it's not just Black and brown people in New York. Like, we're all over. We're across the country. So you need to be just as active in other states as you are here. It needs to be a business practice across the board. And so to your original question, like, what do I think? It needs to be part of an everyday practice, just as you said, because if it's not, it's disingenuous. It also doesn't speak to those who perhaps are even working for your company to feel like that you care about them. And then they could be missing out on valuable talent.
That is very true.
There's a huge, not everyone that wants to get into this industry wants to own and lead a business. Some of them want to work.
Yeah.
Guess what? We need people to help us run our businesses, right?
Somebody
we can't
gotta
all
grow.
be owners.
No.
We need people to help support what we're doing. And so when people feel invited and cared for, yeah, it's important. So yeah, these companies do have an obligation, and they have to have one. They need to implement it now before it's required.
There you go.
Because when it's federally legal and it's
There you
required,
go.
that's a whole other.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother kind of worms up, a whole nother Pandora's box.
Yes.
So I want to ask you the next question I had in mind, Gia. What is your perspective and Gia's predictions on legalization in the state of New York?
That's a really good question. If you had asked me before the pandemic, I probably would have thought sooner. I have mixed reviews looking at New York today because of the impact of the pandemic and how it's had on our state. We've lost a significant amount of money, and I don't know if cannabis can be the conduit to bring it in, or does it end up getting hurt? When I think about the unemployment rate, and I think about what our 10 license holders of the state have now, it's expensive. We don't have flour. We don't have a lot of things that could help serve, the patients. And I think we're all patients overall, but card-carrying patients. So we go adult use. How does that change what we currently have? Will state be open to having flour on the market? That could help significantly, right? I don't have an answer, because I think it's COVID has really, in my opinion, changed what I think could happen.
It changed the world, so it definitely changed the whole perspective.
So it's
on
hard
that.
for anyone to say, "Oh, I think it's going to happen in a couple of years." We still don't have a vaccine, so I mean, and who knows how long that takes? But yeah, I would like to see it legalized at least. I'd like to. We're already in 2021, as far as I'm concerned. We only got 4 months left to the year. So if we're able to at least get there by the end of 2021 into 2022, hopefully we're in a better space in the state, health-wise, financially health.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of people left the city.
It's a lot of people that left the city. It's a lot of
Stores are closing.
unemployment. It's a lot of homelessness. So that's why as much as I'd like to see us get adult use, I also want to make sure that we, as Black and brown people in this industry, even get our just due in our state. And I don't know if our state can service everyone.
I agree with you. I don't think they're ready for it.
I'd like to see something else before adult use, though.
Yeah, the view that we have here is that I think if they're smart, I believe that New York City is the highest consuming city in the world. So I think from what you said, to not having flour at all, to going straight recreation, I don't think that's sustainable or feasible. So I think that if they were smart, they would just add flour to medical first and see how that goes, because why would you want to unleash a volcano like that when you don't even know if you're
And I'm
able to
coughing because of
sustain
that,
it?
sorry.
That's all right.
Not because I'm spreading.
So that's my humble opinion, G, on that.
Well, I would like to see, I'm going to say it on your podcast because I've said it elsewhere. I'd like to see statewide education for for the people of the state. I'd like to see
Statewide cannabis education, you mean?
Yes. I would like to see statewide cannabis education in our higher institutions. I believe that while we're running towards adult use market, my concern is that will they hire within the state, or are they going to bring outside talent? So I feel like we need to educate our people so that the people that we hire are the very same taxpayers that are putting the money right back into the market. I want to see
like that.
not just state, I want to see city colleges have
Some sort of course.
like a degree. Why
Degree.
not? Like have degrees and certifications of some sort. I think that's important. We have to become educated. You said that, right?
Yeah.
And so oftentimes I think we're running so fast to legalize, and then our own people don't know where to find the resources of information.
Yeah, I'm more concerned as far as like it being implemented correctly than it being done in a timely fashion.
Okay.
Because if like, if you do it wrong, there's gonna be no way to undo it for a long time.
What do you mean,
So
the
it's better-
education piece?
No, just in general, like
yeah.
as far as like it going legal, like you said, like recreational legal, whatever. It's better if it takes a little longer and it's done right than it to be rushed and done wrong. And then we've seen in other states how hard it is to undo things once they have
Once
already
they're
been put
done.
in.
Just like social equity has happened in other states. I think New York is it's in a position to really change the course of adult legalization. I think if we take the errors that have happened in other states and learn from them and sort of take the pros and cons, right, of each, and then create our own unique, legalized state. And we can do that. Make sure that women, Black, brown, but all, diversity, all ethnicities are part of it. Because other states, they had to go back and then, because they forgot about women and diversity, right? Like, how do you forget that?
Yeah.
But they forgot to include them. And so New York can do that from the onset. Make sure that we are a part of it.
We here already. Just include us. Well, we already being included. For the rest of you guys who want to include yourself, just go ahead, right?
Now, Gia, we ask everybody that comes on the show the $1 million question, and you're such a versatile, intellectual woman. We want to know your view on it. So we ask everybody that's ever been on the show for what you know about Happy Monkey, the movement, the events, the whole movement, and the whole, organization. If you had to describe it in one word, what would it be and why?
Wait, ask me again.
So
I think I
if
got
you
a
had to-
contact off
If you had
of
to describe what Happy Monkey did, everything you've heard about it, from events to the media to all the different parts of it. If you had to describe it in one word, what would it be and why?
One word describing Happy Monkey.
Boom.
Necessary.
Why necessary? Nobody's using that.
Necessary. Well, if we are, again, we receive information from people in different ways. So, I'm here at your place. I get the feel, I get the tone. I feel more relaxed here. So I'm probably more likely, if I'm a newbie, to ask you a question that maybe I may not ask in a ArcView room. And so you're necessary because you are perhaps a doorway that's going to invite other people that look like us to the table so that they can go and build their own table. And so you're necessary because you're in education. Like, people are going to watch and listen and learn and
That's big. Thank you.
Come to you.
That's a big
Thank
compliment.
you so much for those
Big
kind
compliment.
words. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. You heard it
Necessary.
first from one of the leaders
queens,
in the
yeah.
educating cannabis industry in the United States. So that means
Thank
a lot
you.
coming from you.
Absolutely.
So tell the people all the things they should expect
Yes,
from you
before
for the
we
rest
go.
of 2020, as far as like your company, Women Grow, and where they can stay up to up to date on everything you guys are going to be doing the rest of the year and next year.
So for Women Grow, I would tell them to follow us. We're on all platforms at Women Grow. Stay tuned for adult homeschooling, which we'll be launching very soon.
Yep.
And so all of that information can be found on our social media. And we're purposely using social media because that's where we feel our community is. No one's really reading emails the way they used to. So, you go to your Instagram page.
Yeah.
So I say definitely follow us there, but definitely look up womengrow.com. So that's what's happening, I'd say, for the next few months into next year, really educating the people. And then for my own company, GVM Communications, quite honestly, the pandemic has been interestingly successful for us. And not a lot of people can say that. And so I drop to my knees and thank God every day that we are so blessed. I have a full female team. And so the fact that these women are able to work, they're single moms, some of them, that they're able to work and provide for their families. So I look forward to, my goal is to create GVM small business and GVM corporate so that we can serve some of our small businesses in the industry as well as outside of the industry. So just look up my company, GVM Communications.
Boom, everybody. There you go.
So if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have an up-and-coming brand, holla at GVM, Gia, and they'll put you on the map.
And my team, yep, I got an
got
amazing
you.
team.
Well, ladies and gentlemen,
Yes,
there
yes.
you have it. This young lady has come and dropped so many jewels for you. Gave it
Jewels
to you
on top
from
of jewels.
corporate to Wall Street to however you wanted it. She got it for you from the
Yes,
Brooklyn to
Wall Street.
however you want to do it. So thank you so much,
Thank
Gia,
you
for
so
gracing us
much.
with your
I
presence.
appreciate it.
For everybody out there, we know it's been a rough year, but we like to stay optimistic and positive here on the Boulevard. So always remember, you're too blessed to be stressed. Things that get greater later. For now, checking out Vlad, Gia, Ramon. Till the next episode. Peace, love, and happiness, everybody.
Peace.
What's good, everybody? This is your nigga Ralph, trying to keep you fresh with the info from Happy Monkey every single podcast. You already know what it is. If you haven't followed us yet, follow us on Instagram at @HappyMonkey_ or Happy Monkey Goodies. Now remember, that's monkey with a U. Also, if you haven't checked us out, we're on YouTube. So check out our channel, Happy Monkey TV. Keep us current, live, and everything with the culture.